right. Hi, guys. Thanks for opening this video. I am Don Ford. This is Progressive Insider. You have caught, I think this is number 4 or 5. We've lost track of so many. We're doing a Bernie Delegate series where we're going through the different Bernie delegates that are doing fundraisers and all kinds of stuff. We're giving you the opportunity to get to know them. And now we're in New Hampshire, and we are talking to Sebastian Fuentes. Sebastian, how are you doing today?
Excellent. How's everybody doing?
Well, I am doing well. I hope everyone else is doing well. You, sir, have taken on quite the challenge by attempting to almost, we're trying to buck the establishment to some degree by becoming the establishment, and now you're a delegate. What's that? What got you there?
I just want to start by saying that was one of the most powerful things I ever done in my life. The first one was becoming a U.S. citizen, and I think the second one was becoming a delegate. Especially, cheering out for Senator Sanders. I think, as becoming a citizen is just for the first step, but getting involved with politics and trying to create change in my community, that's actually the next step. So here I am. That's what I'm trying to do. Go to Milwaukee to, just do the best I can to represent Senator Sanders and just kind of get my community more aware that there's a minority here in a really white state like New Hampshire that, want to speak up. And, we have a little bit of, we have a lot of energy. We can be loud. All Hispanic guys can be loud, but we want to put that energy, that good things.
I think I've had to move a few times because of that exact thing here in Los Angeles.
Yep.
But no, it's so important that people in these communities be loud, because when we think of New Hampshire, we don't think of Hispanic or Latino or, I'm not even sure. I get confused on the nomenclature with it. But these communities, they're viewed as minority communities, but they're really just communities.
Yes.
And we need them. We can't erase them by saying New Hampshire is a white state.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? Sebastian, I don't know anything about you other than you are wearing a Harvard sweater because you're in the Harvard Adult Program, which is amazing. What got you into activism? Like, what is your activism that you are all about?
So right here in the state of New Hampshire, what I'm really active about is any issues related to immigration. There's a few of us around here, and there's a few of us with the knowledge to help other peoples with immigrant issues. So I'm trying to do that. On the other side, I'm a board member for a grassroots organization called Rights and Democracy, which actually endorsed Senator Bernie Sanders. We're trying to create awareness on our community about issues like healthcare, income inequality, voting rights, education funding, that is the opioid crisis that is so strong here in New Hampshire. So what got me here, like I said earlier, the fact that I became a U.S. citizen. For a lot of us, especially minorities, once we become citizens, we just think that, that's it. I'm fine. I'm comfortable. I can live, the rest of my life without worrying about, being deported or everything. But for me, it was a little bit more than that. For me, it was more like, all right, so now I can, be heard because I'm a U.S. citizen. I can speak up. I can organize rallies. I can organize, marches or get together with other activists in the area without the fear of being, prosecuted or being deported. So, that's something that all Americans should feel really proud about, that they have that, that right that for other people from other countries are pretty denied. So, here I am and just trying to create change.
So it's almost like it's a type of privilege that you had to earn.
Right.
And you think that you are saying, and I actually agree with you on this, by the way. My wife is an immigrant from Canada. So I know that when you earn it, it's a little different than when you just have it naturally. And I think people forget how important the opportunity we have and the change we can create with the fear that comes along with not being in that position is just something that people don't think about.
Absolutely. Yes, you're correct.
So ICE is a big deal then, probably, with you, right? Like, how does the stance on abolishing ICE or all these things play into these communities? Is it something that would really make people feel better, or is it just changing our immigration policies in general? Because you're talking a lot about keeping people involved, but there's like two ends of your immigration problem, right? You have the people that are in here and how are they being handled, who are not I don't want to say illegal because that's the wrong language, right? Who are not legally here because the process of legality is too complicated. So we also have to go back to fix that also.
Yeah, you're correct. I think the immigration system in the United States needs to be completely overhauled. Needs to be a complete reform, and I think that's what Senator Sanders is trying to bring to the table. Uh, the one thing that I also want to, emphasize is that the Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol, ICE, and the whole Homeland Security, they need to reform the whole training system, how they engage with, minorities, especially refugees, asylum seekers, and stuff. I think they have a tendency to do some racial profiling, especially here in the state of New Hampshire. I can give you a couple examples. One of them here in New Hampshire, the Concord bus, which is an affiliate from Greyhound. They allow Border Patrol, ICE, to hop in the buses to question immigrants or their status. I think we just did a few organizing little get-togethers to try to get to reach out to Concord and make phone calls and texts and reach out to the executive directors to, hey, you know what, you got to do something about it. And I can say we probably did it. They are no longer allowing Border Patrol doing that.
Good job. I did see that in the news. I saw the Greyhound also back that they weren't going to do that anymore. Can I ask you a question real fast? I'm going to let you jump in and continue your story, because I want to hear more examples on this, and everyone does. But there's a little law that I think, because you're in New Hampshire, that people don't think about. We think about it in reference to the other borders on the southern border, but the northern border, immigration, and they have additional rights within 50 miles or 100 miles of the national border.
Yeah, so the law is that they have authority over 100 miles from the border. But, down in Texas, 100 miles is just a chunk of the whole state.
Yeah, but that's like most of New Hampshire, right?
Most of New Hampshire, is most of Vermont, is Maine, pretty much the whole state of Maine, more than half of Massachusetts, New York City, so Philadelphia, Washington, everything. So it's a huge, section of land that they have complete authority. So yeah, that's something that people in New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine are pretty conflicted about.
Yeah, no, I'm super conflicted about, because I want, on one hand, I like the idea of going away from borders in general, of course, because I think we need to open things up. But I do think we need to take that process very carefully. But at the same time, we do have major security issues that are going on in our country, mostly by our own, creation. We can talk about what's going on in the Middle East and everything else later. But we do have some level of security requirements, but it's not about that anymore. They're not about protecting us. It's about oppression and taxation.
Yeah, you're right. Something happened along the line. And I think what's helping this whole system to go the wrong way was that we have a really, I would say, that's my personal opinion, a racist president. It happened with Obama. It happened with previous presidents in the past. But the one thing that Donald Trump made is he made this the normal thing. He made this, the proper thing to do. We have in New Hampshire, I have racist Border Patrol agents doing checkpoints in the highway. If you have an accent, they pull you aside. You can tell them you're an American citizen, but you have an accent, you have brown skin, or you're wearing a hijab. All right, you pull to the side, and they interrogate you a little further.
Do you feel like there's like a white, because we talk about this in the police systems, the racism and the white nationalists that have gone into these, because it gives them opportunities to have position of power over minorities that they wouldn't normally have. And do you feel that because of these reforms don't happen, it almost is like white nationalist recruitment? It's like how they keep their ranks full and costs down by saying, hey, we want to oppress some minorities. And that's why we're not getting reform, because it seems like it's like how we use the education system to keep the military going. So it seems like there's no investment for them to actually reform the system, because then where do they get their people from that have to do a little oppression to keep things safe, but they all go all the way with it?
Yeah, no, you're correct. It's just like I said, it's unfortunately it's the normal thing in this country right now. It's allowed, and especially in New Hampshire, like we're not that many of us. I think New Hampshire immigrant population is less than 10%. So when something happens to us, it's just hard for us to make ourselves known. But I think now we have the blessings of the social media that
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know it does change. It changes things, right?
We changed the game a little bit, especially for example when I go through checkpoints and I want to hold the officers accountable. I just go, click, I go live, and I have a whole bunch of people looking at it, and they can see me engaging with the Border Patrol. And they actually, I have calls from people, minority people, saying, hey, I didn't know that you can actually, back talk to the officers and tell them that, it's my right not to say anything. I didn't know that I don't have to even, comply by anything they say, because it's my right as a U.S. citizen just to, go my own way, unless, there's an actual reason why they need to pull you over. But if they have nothing, you can't, it goes against your rights. So yeah, that's the blessings of social media.
There's a theory that they're trying to find people with guilty consciences, and there is a theory behind this type of policing. But the problem is when you're hiring from this clearly racist pool of people, not entirely, but you're hiring, you're driving hires from that. You're putting people in these positions of power, and then those people who are good at those end up in oversight positions. And then that's where you're like, where reform needs to happen, because it doesn't just happen at the officers talking to the individual. It happens at how the officers are being policed by their own officers.
Mm-hmm.
So what would reform look like to you with some of these elements?
I think we should be able to still control our borders properly. There's still a lot of dangerous people coming through the border. I think we need to expand the immigration judicial system. The amount of judges allowed to take care of immigration cases, not just in New Hampshire, but all over the states, is really low. I think we need to expand that. We need to expand the Dreamer program. DACA needs to be expanded. And then also, just go line by line. Go line by line to see why the immigration system in the United States is falling. It's not compassionate. Why are we having children sleeping on floors in southern Texas? Why when a family is seeking asylum from a country like Honduras or Guatemala, they cross the border and they grab the mom, and the mom goes to New Hampshire, actually. The father goes to Texas, and the daughter goes to Chicago. What is the point of that? One thing that I was told by an officer years ago was, because that's going to determine, that's going to tell them that, if you do it again in the future, this is going to happen. So they're going to be afraid of it to do it again. And I think that's the wrong thing to do. So we need to reorganize the immigration system. That the reform needs to be more compassionate, more humane. There's a lot of people that come here for the right reasons. Also, there's people that come in for the wrong reasons. But we need to be able to check. Not everybody here is here to create harm to American citizens.
I have a theory about this. Actually, it's more meta than just immigration in general. It's about humans, and it's the idea that we think it's okay in society to isolate other humans as punishment. Like, put your kid in timeout or jail cells. And there's something inhumane about that whole process, that concept. And so we do this as just a normal, basic idea, but it actually really shows a sense of apathy that is unnatural. It's there's something really bad about it that I can't really put my finger on, other than it sounds terrible. And I think that it carries into what you're saying right now, is because what do? They isolate the people. They break them apart. They take them to those things. We should keep those families together. If we have to send them back, we should send them back. Plus, our asylum laws are a disaster right now with Donald Trump.
Yes. And that's, that psychological harm and damage you can do, not just the adults, but actually the children. It's something that they're never going to forget, regardless. I have friends here in New Hampshire that, that has gone through all that. And then the daughter, all remembers is the jail cell, the cold floors, having to share a bathroom with other kids that she has never met before, and then just waiting to see mom. And it takes 3 months, 4 months, sometimes more than that. So, it's just, I just think about, I have 2 kids of my own, and just think about, if it happened to me, what will be their situation? How will be their reaction? I think it's completely devastating.
Yeah, no, it is really devastating. It's shocking to hear that this is the American policy. And not only that, it's not even just, Trump has put it into hyperdrive, but these were permissions that were granted by the Obama administration.
Exactly.
So people kind of don't really understand. They go, oh, well, this is a Republican problem. You're like, no. This is a immigration problem that affects, this is an American problem.
It's an American problem. When people say, we have to take Trump down, I'm like, Trump is just one piece on this whole chessboard game. We have to take everybody else. First we got to take the Senate, we got the House of Representatives, the Congress, and also not just that, but also our local government. The state, the governors, your governors in your states. The people that they're representing you down in your local state house. They need to be, be held accountable for all the actions, because the whole system is broken. And once again, this is what I think Senator Sanders is going to be the perfect fit for this, because he wants to create change, real change, humane change, and is the change that the type of change the America truly needs, the real revolution.
I totally agree with you. As you can see, I put my Bernie sign up for the delegate conversations.
Yes.
I think that what you're talking about, and if I understand it correctly, so feel free to correct me, is you're talking about institutionalized racism, and it's a form of systemic racism. They're similar but slightly different, and so the whole system has been built on racist laws and rules that have never really been honest about them being racist. And that is sort of where the problem comes in, because we can't even be honest with ourselves about where this all started. I mean, police were started to gather running slaves on the run. And that is ultimately, not much has changed.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, there's racism in all communities. Latinos can be racist against white people as well. Latinos can be racist against African Americans. It happens all around. But it's just a matter of also, at the same time we're reforming immigration, we need to reform education. We need to be able to, to teach our kids that, everybody, regardless of color and gender or belief, we're all the same. We deserve the same quality of education, the same quality of healthcare. And then, we're here for one purpose, to just, we'll take this from the Trump campaign to really make America great, the real way.
Again, couldn't agree with you more. I'm so happy you're a Bernie delegate. You're exactly the type of person I would hope to be in this position. And you really make a really great point when it comes to education and being tied into all of these. Because if your children aren't prepared to understand things, then they just get taken advantage of. And that's a big part of why they separate the generations, because it's impossible to learn from your parents if you're not around them. And that's the generational suppression that I will talk about at times, and that we see in how climate justice is directly linked to racial justice now. It's all these things are all tied together, and they all come back down to education and healthcare, actually.
Yeah, you're right. My grandfather used to tell me, they can take everything away from you, your money, your house, but the one thing that can never take away from you is education. How, your upbringing, what you learn, how to be compassionate about other people, and just to understand and listen. I think that's the most important part. So yeah, everything is related. Everything is, all together. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I hope that people who are watching this, who find themselves in single issue positions, like you may have tuned into this because we were talking about immigration, but you got to understand how immigration is tied to education, that is tied to environmental justice, that is tied back to how the police state is of the problem. And then that goes back into our taxation issues. How it's all tied together in one giant system. And the movement, I think, and the Bernie delegates are all the people out there trying to unwind that giant tangled knot.
Yeah, sure, right. Just becoming a delegate, is, I think, just the first step. We're all on the same page here. We're trying to, we want to go to Milwaukee, obviously, to get Senator Sanders to become our president, but at the same time, to raise awareness and to tell the DNC that the issues that we had 10 years ago are different now, and that's something that we have to thank Senator Sanders, because 10 years ago, we were not talking about Medicare for all. We were not talking about major immigration reform. Climate change wasn't even on the table. I think a few years ago, the ozone layer disappearing was the biggest thing. And right now it's climate change. That is I think they call it the sixth major extinction is happening. So, there's so much to do. And I think after the election, when Senator Sanders becomes a president, and if he doesn't for any reason, the Bernie movement, the revolution needs to stick together. Because that rhetoric, that's the way he spoke to us needs to stay. And we need to make sure that the future generations, and also but people that are going to run for office after Senator Sanders is that they're going to be running on the same values. Climate change needs to be up there, and healthcare for all needs to be brought back to the table, regardless of who's the president. There needs to be the continuous fight for all Americans.
Right. And we're not even fighting for something like, people think, well, why does America deserve this advancement over everything else? And the truth is, we're not even fighting for that advancement. We're just fighting to be on the same level as the rest of the planet.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, at the end of the recording, I would like to do a small message in Spanish, just so I can reach out, to Spanish-speaking delegates and other Bernie Sanders followers.
Do it right now?
We can do it right now? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Me gustaría dar un mensaje a todos los seguidores del senador Bernie Sanders, especialmente las minorías en Estados Unidos. No es porque seamos menos, pero nos tenemos que sentir como que fuéramos más. Nosotros somos, los latinos somos una fuerza de cambio, una fuerza revolucionaria. Todas nuestras culturas, en Sudamérica como en Centroamérica, siempre han llevado la energía. Y tenemos que llevar esa energía a Milwaukee. Nosotros somos un movimiento fuerte, una revolución, y tenemos que llevar ese cambio. Y ojalá que ustedes como latinos podamos ver más latinos allá en Milwaukee. Gracias.
Love it. Yeah, no, it's so important we get these delegates there. There's going to be a fight one way or another. Even if we win, it's going to be a fight. And getting people there can't disappear if everything goes wrong. So, it's going to be, I don't think it is. I don't know if you saw today the Michigan poll that came out that had Sanders behind by 22 points, except is done by exactly the same pollster that said he was 22 points behind in 2016.
Yeah, no, I don't believe in polls. I don't believe. Look what happened on the last one with Hillary Clinton and Trump. Everybody, she was 15 points ahead, and all of a sudden, here we are right now. Paying for it. So
Here we are. Donald Trump is president. We got to change that, and this is the best way to do it. So, what do you tell people that are feeling a little hopeless right now? There is a little bit of hope. It's like, I know the media is pushing back. That's why we're doing this, right? They're not giving the real stories that are hopeful out in there and letting people see what's really happening. So what do you want to say? Like, what would your message be to the burners out there that have that, especially the first time people that weren't here in 2016, that don't even know what this feels like?
Yeah, no, don't feel discouraged. Just because what you see on the news, you have to realize that it's a corporate status. The status quo is dictating what to say, what to put out there on TV. Just keep knocking on doors. Just keep engaging with people in your community. Just keep, phone banking, texting. Just when you have family gatherings, just talk to your family. That's the first step. Just talk to your uncles, your relatives, your grandparents. You might create a little bit of a family feud, but at least you're raising the awareness. Just engage with your community. The ideas are there. Like I said, we had to thank Senator Sanders for those, and we should not give up the fight. There's so much still. There's so many delegates at stake yet. This fight is not over until the last day of Milwaukee. And even when that's done, the fight still continues on a larger scale.
Yeah, I tell people, I just did an interview earlier today with the Delegates Abroad Global Chair, and she had said that we plan on going until November 15th. That's their plan. They're going to keep going. They assume there's going to be recounts. And I said to her, well, what we should do is we should keep going until the winter DNC meeting where the next chair is done. So it's 2021. And just plan you're going until winter 2021. Because if we change the chair, no matter what happens, we don't have to go through this again.
Absolutely. The DNC needs to be also, they need new leadership. Tom Perez, he has to go, just for the benefit of the whole party. Because I think what's going to be heartbreaking is going to be if we have Trump for another 40 years. That'll be proof that, the whole system failed. The whole strategy that the DNC had failed. And so, yeah, there's so much to do, and we need to get progressive and grassroots people to be part of the DNC leadership. So, and that's where the Senator Sanders, followers come into play.
All right. Well, you heard it from the delegates himself. It's inter-party elections are super, super critical. Yeah. The caucus processes in different states are happening. We just had, I believe, Minnesota. There was another state that had them. Maybe it was Wisconsin. I can't remember exactly which one that had delegate assignments last night. We're recording this on Monday. So on Sunday, I know they just had events there. There's more stuff going on all over the country. The chance to pick up a delegate seat is real, and you don't need to be a hotshot activist like Sebastian from RAD, which, by the way, you guys can get that action fund set up so you can be RAD AF. And I did an interview with Heather the other day. I don't know if she told you.
And actually, Heather is the one that got me involved with activism, especially with RAD. I lived in the North Country, New Hampshire, an area that is not highly involved or highly active. And Heather and Rights and Democracy, RAD, reach out to us and say, what do you guys need, Sebastian? and they actually came to the North Country and started listening to us. Yeah, so Heather is one of the delegates from New Hampshire. Is going with me, and I'm just so inspired that I get to go with her because she's the one that got me here. So.
Wait, are you saying that RAD actually lifts up the grassroots and works with them to improve policy to points?
Absolutely. Yes, they are. Like I said, the North Country is one of the poorest counties in New Hampshire, if not the poorest. And they actually, RAD Democracy, and especially Heather, they called me one day and said, Sebastian, what are the issues that are affecting your community? I was like, wow, this is the first time any grassroots organization comes up north. And they came, we have breakfast, we had coffee, and then, all right, let's do the issues. These are the issues that the southern part of the state have. What about the North Country? I'm like, what about the same? What about the same? Healthcare is a big issue. Housing affordability is another one. The younger demographics of New Hampshire are running away from here because there's not a lot of opportunities. They go to Colorado. They go to Los Angeles, California. They go to Florida because there's more jobs. There's more things to do, obviously.
That might be where our votes went, actually. Our vote shrank in New Hampshire a lot. And, we have a lot of theories about one of it, but one of it could be a big loss of thousands of people that just aren't in the state anymore. I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah, they're moving away.
Well, Sebastian, I want everyone to know, first off, that his GoFundMe is available. It's going to be in the comments of this YouTube video. We're going to link it all over the place. Please, if you want to make sure this fantastic activist makes it, please make a donation to the GoFundMes. We have it all sort of straightened out. It's the exact same process we used in 2016 very effectively. He has my full endorsement, and apparently he's got Bernie's endorsement too. So Sebastian, I would love to have you back and do a more in-depth conversation about some of the immigration that's affecting your region. And John, I'm sure you can speak well about the entire country to some degree. So
absolutely. I was an immigrant myself. I paid my dues. I stand in line to get my paperwork done. I was a green card holder. I was a student coming here for the first time, and then I'm a citizen. So I know the intricacies. I know what needs to be done, and at the same time, I know how unfair the system can be.
You know what I'd like to do with you, Sebastian, just right off the bat, is I'd like to work on some sort of immigration platform plank that will go to the conventions so that we can get the DNC to pick it up for the platform committee. Would you be interested in working on something like that?
Sure, absolutely, no worries.
Start thinking about it, and we'll talk some more, and we'll do another thing about this, okay?
Sounds perfect to me.
All right, Sebastian, you've been amazing. I am Don Ford. This has been Progressive Insider. We're going to figure out what number we're on with these. I think this is number 4 or 5. But this has been the Delegate series for Bernie Sanders. Please, please, please. Them making it there depends on all of us coming together to make this happen. So one more time, Sebastian, thank you again. And that's it. We're done.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it, guys, and I'll see you all in Milwaukee.
Thank you, Sebastian. You have a great day.
You too, man.